Next we go on to the value of diversity. Biodiversity provides a variety of environmental services from its species and ecosystems that are essential at the global, regional, and local levels, like the production of oxygen, reduction of carbon dioxide, maintenance of the water cycle, and protection of the soil. Biological diversity is also essential for preserving ecological processes such as fixing and recycling of nutrients, salt formation, maintaining stream and river flows throughout the year, erosion control, and local flood reduction. So these are some of the values we have of biodiversity. Now let us go on further and talk about consumptive use value. The biodiversity contained in the ecosystem provides forest dwellers with the daily needs of food, building material, fodder, medicines, and a variety of other products. If we go for productive use value, this category comprises of marketable goods. The biotechnologist uses bio-rich areas to look for prospects and search for potential genetic properties in plants and animals that can be used to develop better varieties of crops for use in farming and plantation programs, or to develop better livestock or animal livestock. To the pharmacist, biological diversity is a raw material from which new drugs can be identified from plant and animal products. To the industrialist, biodiversity is a rich storehouse from which to develop new products. For the agricultural scientist, biodiversity in the wild relatives of crop plants is the basis for developing new and better crops. If we go for ethical and moral values related to biodiversity, ethical values related to biodiversity conservation are based on the importance of protecting all forms of life. Apart from the economic importance of conserving biodiversity, there are several cultural, moral, and ethical values associated with the sanctity of all forms of life. The Indian civilization has, over several generations, preserved nature through local traditions by preserving nature in the form of sacred groves or devrais. These sacred groves around ancient sacred sites and temples act as gene banks for wild plants. Then, regarding social values, biodiversity has, to a great extent, been preserved by traditional societies that have valued it as a resource and appreciated that its depletion would be a great loss to their society. For example, many plants and animals are considered sacred in India and worshipped. Example, tulsi plant, peepal tree, cow, snake, etc. Okay, this is just a tradition. Worshipping plants and animals has led to the conservation of these plants and animals. So, indirectly, we are actually preserving biodiversity. Then if we go for aesthetic value, the appreciation of the presence of biodiversity for its inherent value and beauty, as well as for the contribution it makes to our knowledge or aesthetics, imagination, and creativity, is another reason to preserve it. That means we should appreciate nature and try to preserve the biodiversity of plants and animals. Then we have option value. Keeping future possibilities open for the use of biodiversity is called the option value. It is impossible to predict which of a species or traditional varieties of crops and domestic animals would be of greatest use in the future. to continue to improve cultivars and domestic livestock, we need to return to wild relatives of crop plants and animals. Thus, the preservation of biodiversity must also include traditionally used strains already in existence in crops and domestic animals. That means in future, we do not know which animal or which crop or which plant may be important for us, which would have the greatest use in the future. So it is always important that we should preserve all our animals and plants, and we should always preserve our biodiversity for the future use. So thank you, girls. All right, see you all in the next class.